people aren't their beliefs. The system of what somebody believes and the person themselves are two separate things, right? How far can you take that? Christians, our identity isn't in our beliefs. We're not our beliefs. So if Christianity doesn't matter if Christianity is true or not. Oh, but your denomination, if you identify too much with it, you're being an ideologue, right? How far can you take that? For a lot of people, their denomination is Christianity to them as they understand it. Are we going to start saying the validity of Christianity or not isn't the person? Well, it isn't the person, but it kind of is everything to a Christian if their religion isn't true. And by religion, I mean the thing the Bible means by religion, which is the faith. I don't mean this weird spiritual religious distinction where people mean ceremonial stuff rather than heart change or something. The Bible doesn't really know that distinction, I don't think, other than when people are being, well, like everybody's a Pharisee that believes differently than you, right? Adventists just don't get it because they think the Sabbath is still a thing. We just don't get it. Some people don't get it. Well, if it's not what saved you, should we discard it? Start teaching free grace theology, which makes absolutely no sense. If you criticize Catholicism, for a lot of people, that's criticizing faith because the church is the dispenser of salvation. But like that is the problem, isn't it? With Catholicism, if you think that, then you're not believing the gospel. So you don't want to offend people, but should we offend people so that they see the truth? Well, we wouldn't dare say they weren't saved, whatever that means. I swear, nobody knows what that means. But so I'm a little bit skeptical about being able to totally remove religion from people. But look, you can believe there's people who are Catholic who aren't lost without affirming the system. But that's a complicated issue. It's like I always feel bad for the Calvinists and the once saved, always saved people when someone defects from the faith, especially if they were a faithful believer and then they don't believe anymore, how they can deal with that. Because if you say they were never saved, well, then you're just lying to yourself. And then if you affirm that they still are saved, then you're affirming that you don't have to be a believer to be saved. That's a problem. So what's the right approach? People need Christ or they're not saved. So why argue about whether you can lose your salvation or not? It's just a pious fraud. People need Jesus. That's what the point is, isn't it? It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Some to the point where they'll say you don't even get what the gospel is if you think that's like a relational, ongoing growth in love through God's law, God's precepts, through the Spirit. But it's not the law. Except for the Bible in the New Testament says it's the law of God, it is the love of God. That's the problem for people who say that. And the danger for people who say the law is what matters, they don't see that they don't recognize the Spirit. But it's very complicated. I don't know. Somebody wants to comment. Give me some wisdom on that. Baptism matters. The sacraments, properly understood, matter, according to the New Testament. And believe it or not, the commandments of God matter. Seems like that's a lot more prominent than anything about sacraments, which people want to emphasize so heavily. Back to say that you have to come through their church. which I do not believe and will never believe, because I know that they believe weird stuff. Some Kelly Powers thing last night, and there were some Orthodox and Catholics. I couldn't believe how they read 1 Corinthians 1:11. But they want to turn that into people not believing in transubstantiation is the problem. It has nothing to do with that text. It has to do with the manner in which you have fellowship through communion with Christ and the body of believers. And a proper understanding of that proves that we're called to holiness and righteousness. That's intrinsically part of believing. It's not just a proposition. It's a life. It's a life of walking in the Spirit through a relationship with God. If you don't have that, you're in danger, it seems to me, according to the text anyways, if you read it properly. If you read the whole Bible, you don't take certain verses by themselves and then say that's the base reality, and then force all the other texts to not mean what they say, because you take, it's amazing how the free gracers do this. And then once it's established, that becomes the identity of what it means to believe in Christianity. And they'll fight tooth or nail to the death for it, rather than allegiance to Christ. And it's like, you don't want to discourage people from misreading the Bible if they care about God, but psychology is an amazing thing. So it's like, all you can do is just try to lead by example, I guess, and show it through your life. And but there's people that do that from all sorts of different backgrounds. It doesn't change what the truth is of the text, what the text is saying or not. And what motivates people and what their background is very complicated. But what does the text actually say? And there's a lot of obfuscation going around regarding what the text seems to say, it seems to me. It says what's convenient. But are you saved by reading the text right? Well, no. Anyway, what you believe changes who you are. So it's intrinsically connected to your identity if you're a Christian. Obviously, if you see a system of Christianity that you think is false, but people love Jesus, you don't want that system to be Christianity for them. You want to see it as like a parasitic thing on top of mere Christianity. But good luck untangling what exactly it is that is hurting them, and how much of that system is actually their faith and not the mere Christianity at the base. It's hard to tell when you really get down to it. And then if everybody just agrees that this mere Christianity is Christianity, well, that's not what the Bible doesn't teach mere Christianity. So anyway, give me your thoughts if you watch this. Curious what you think.